Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my first impressions look on the 361 degrees AG4 Soar. So this is kind of like a premium version or a better version of the 361 degrees AG4. So AG is Aaron Gordon, and of course this is Aaron Gordon's signature shoe. And the AG4 was amazing. It's one of my favorite hoop shoes of recent memory, basically of last year, and I still love playing in this shoe. It's only $100 as well, which is an amazing deal. And this is the premium version of it, right? And it is premium as far as the materials go, kinda. We'll get into that. But also it is more premium as far as the price goes. It is $140. $40 more is way more expensive, which kind of sucks. I feel like it should have been like $120, $130 max, but I guess $140 still isn't terrible, especially comparing to like Nike shoes like LeBron's are like $200, you know? So you guys do want to copy, try to leave a link in the description box, but let's get it started right off with the Tracciones. In this colorway, this is the black hole colorway. And look, we have a black hole right here, and it kind of looks like a black hole as far as the gradient goes, which looks really, really dope. But anyways, we have a translucent, pretty much fully translucent outsole, and I really like how the color changes from this clear to this like red here in the heel. And as far as the traction pattern goes, it's very, very similar to the original AG4. It's a little bit different, right? We have these grooves here in the original AG4, and also we can see a little bit of separation here in the midfoot for the, I guess they're exposing the actual foam and also the midfoot shank plate. But here in the Soar, it's just all one piece, right? But the pattern is pretty much the exact same. And the AG4 had amazing traction, really, really good stops, and picked up very minimal dust as well. And the AG4 Soar feels like it'll be very good as well. But of course, in this colorway that I have of the AG4, it's a solid white rubber outsole, and this is translucent, so maybe it might perform a little bit differently. We'll have to see on that. But of course, on my wood floors, it feels really, really nice so far. It has a nice bite and also has a nice little high-pitched squeak as well. It's not super squeaky. But I feel like it'll be very, very good. Hopefully they didn't change up the rubber compound too much from the original AG4, right? And as far as the durability goes, durability seems like it'll be very good. The rubber is extremely hard. You have very deep grooves, and especially where the high wear area is, right? Of course, the rubber does spread out a little bit more, and also gets harder here at the tip of the toe and also at the heel. Once you get here into the midfoot, it gets really, really thin, right? Same thing in the regular AG4. So durability, you should be fine as well. I mean, 361 degrees is a Chinese company, and they make very durable outsoles usually, so you should be fine on an outdoor court with the AG4 Soar. So there is the traction there. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, it feels overall kind of smooth, right? So here in the heel, it is a little disappointing because of course this shoe has a drop-in midsole, which we'll get into for cushion, but we have of course all of this rubber coming out, especially in the back of the heel and also on the sides, right? So there's no actual exposed midsole, it's just rubber and then plastic, so it is kind of clunky. There's really no compression from the actual midsole, and it's very similar to like Kobe 9s, right? The Kobe 9 high, where it was pretty clunky here in the heel, same thing here in the Soar, but also this doesn't really compress that much. It's not that soft comparing it to the regular AG4, which this rubber was a lot softer, so you can press it a little bit and it's not as clunky or stiff feeling here in the actual here where the rubber is. So that kind of sucks because this is a little bit stiffer, so it feels a little bit clunkier, and also it's a little bit more, it has a little bit of a rounded shape, but it's still more edged out, right? So it feels a little clunkier in the heel, very similar to the Kobe 9s, Kobe 11s, right? And also here in the forefoot, we have a pretty nice curved shape, which does feel nice, and also a nice forefoot flex, like super flexible. Look at that. It's extremely flexible, easy to flex. So it's a very smooth feeling shoe once you get kind of past the clunky heel, right? So there's a heel to toe transition. Moving on to the cushioning setup, like I mentioned before, we have a drop-in midsole. And here it is. The drop-in midsole actually feels quite nice. However, it is a little underwhelming, right? So as far as the court feel goes, the court feel is absolutely freaking amazing in this shoe. So here in the forefoot, it is really, really good. It's even better than the AG4, right? I feel like, even in my personal opinion, they made it a little too thin. This is just, they're using a really, really nice foam. It's called Quick Tech, right? And it's very similar to the foam that's used here in the AG4, as you guys can see. Even the pattern is very, very similar, right? So it's very squishy here in the AG4, same thing here in the Soar. But of course, like I said, the forefoot is super duper thin, right? You have extremely good court feel here in the forefoot, which is, of course, it's good if you want court feel, but I feel like they should have made it a little bit thicker. There's also a 5mm drop, right? So the offset is very flat as well. It's not a very high offset, which is pretty nice. And then here in the heel, it does obviously get thicker, and you can definitely feel it right underneath your foot. It feels pretty similar to the AG4. However, one thing that I don't like that they did is they put kind of like an insole in there. And one reason why I love drop-in midsoles is because you can have your foot right on top of the foam and you can feel the foam right underneath your foot, right? But because they added this kind of like felt material, it's glued down and it doesn't feel as soft. I mean, it's still really soft, especially here in the heel, but I don't think it's as soft as it could be, right? And honestly, I feel like the original AG4 feels a little bit softer because the AG4 has that soft mesh strobable, right? So the cushion feels a little bit better here in the regular AG4 just right now. You know, it feels very nice for stepping comfort, especially here in the forefoot as well. It feels a little bit higher up off the ground, right? And you can feel that compression right underneath your foot comparing it to the drop-in. Also here in the heel, you have that soft mesh strobe board, so it's a little bit softer than the drop-in midsole found here in the Soar, right? There's also a Soar plate, right? So it's called the Soar plate, and it's really cool because it's inside the actual drop-in midsole, which I don't think I've ever seen before, right? So we've seen it on the bottom of the drop-in midsole, so like for example in the 808-3, but not in the actual drop-in midsole, which is pretty cool. It says it's a carbon injected nylon. But yeah, it's just right here, kind of extends into the forefoot a little bit, giving you a little bit more of a springiness to it, right? So that does feel nice. It's also good for torsional support. But yeah, court feel seems really good. Impact protection, not the best, you know what I mean? So I mean, this setup, this drop-in setup is not my favorite, right? Like I said, also, I don't like this, and the forefoot is a little bit too thin, and there's not a lot of compression from the actual midsole, which kind of sucks. It's a little bit of a disappointment. And also another thing that I wish that they did instead of gluing this felt material on top of this is what they did either in the Shadow 5. The Shadow 5, they have a boom insole, and there's a really nice texture to it. You know, very fine texture where it really grips your sock. So they could have put that texture on it, because I'm sure like this type of foam is not super sticky, you know what I mean? I'm sure it'll slide around a little bit if they didn't add this, so that makes sense. However, I wish they didn't glue this here, you know what I mean? So either that, or they could have done what they did in the 808-3 as well. Well, there's also a nice little texture there too, to grab the actual sock and give you better lockdown instead of having to glue this on top of the, you know, drop-in midsole. So anyways, there is the cushioning setup there. Moving on to the upper, so we have kind of like it's like a mesh material, right? You guys can see, we can see the mesh, but also there's an overlaying material over that. And honestly, for $40 more than the AG4, the AG4 feels a little bit better, right? The AG4 is kind of like this textile, almost like knit material, you know what I mean? And you can see the individual threads. It still does feel a little glued down, but it still feels a little bit better, especially for quality, than the Soar version, even though this is supposed to be the more premium version, right? But it's still thin, conforms to your foot kind of well, but also there is a little bit of pinching like right here, right? So with this, when you bend your foot, I feel a little bit of pinching. It hurts a little bit on top of my toes right here, which kind of sucks. I didn't really experience that here in the regular AG4. But that'll probably break in, right? It's not super uncomfortable, it's not super painful, but it's there. Also, we have this plastic here on the lateral side. And then for the tongue, we have pretty minimal padding. It's not super well padded, which kind of sucks. It's also a half booty construction tongue, giving you a better overall one-to-one fit. And also in the ankle area, we have just like 2 Achilles pads, kind of, you know what I mean? It is nicely padded, which does feel nice and cozy, and kind of like on top of that we have this high top. It's just like synthetic material that goes over your ankle bone, of course, and it's a pretty stiff material. So if you want ankle support, of course, it does feel pretty nice if you want a little bit of restriction in the ankle area. But right here in the back, you guys, this is very stiff, you know what I mean? And also when you're jumping, right, this kind of digs into my Achilles a little bit, which kind of sucks, you know what I mean? A lot of shoes have a little bit of a cutout here. Like modern shoes that are still kind of high tops, they usually have like a cutout here, so I kind of don't like that. That kind of sucks. And also I prefer playing in lows because, you know, you don't really need high tops, you know what I mean? So anyways, as far as the overall material goes, it feels alright. Like I said, the $100 AG4 feels better for quality. Also, there's a little bit of pinching, which kind of sucks, right? Now moving on to the fit. So I went up half a size and it fits me extremely well, but there is a little bit of length, right? But also it is quite snug here in the toe box, and it's also kind of narrow. It's squeezing the side of my foot a little bit because of this right here, right? So if you do want to go true to size, just be careful. I feel like it'll be a little snug for most people. So I feel like most people, if you go up half a size, you should be fine, like I have. And yeah, it's a very, very nice fit. And also here in the midfoot, it does get pretty narrow as well. I can definitely feel the arch support right here squeezing my arch a little bit, so it is kind of narrow there as well. But overall, it's a pretty good fit for me going up half a size, right? And now moving on to the support and lockdown. I mean, look at this. You're gonna be good to go. I mean, of course, it's made for Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's a big dude and he needs a lot of support. So first of all, for lateral containment, you have the drop-in midsole, which does give you an extra sidewall, right? So we have all this coming up, acting as a sidewall. And also we have all this, right? We have the rubber coming up, acting as a sidewall right here in the tip of the toe, right? And also we have this plastic piece and a little bit of fuse, like this fuse material acting as a sidewall here in the midfoot. And also here in the heel, we have this crazy emblem, like this circle for the logo, right? So that all feels very supportive and it'll be very good probably for lateral containment, of course. And also look at this. We have the ankle support, which I said was a very, very stiff material. And also look at this, it's a very, very wide shoe. You know, this protrudes out a lot here in the forefoot, giving you a very, very stable and wide base here in the forefoot. So support and lockdown feels like it's gonna be very good. And now moving on to the weight of the shoe, I feel like the shoe is gonna be kind of heavy, honestly, right? There's a lot of rubber and stuff. Yeah, 14.95 ounces, that is freaking heavy. That's pretty much the same weight as like the Harden Volume 7, right? Comparing it to the regular AG4, which is 12.45 ounces. I mean, this shoe is way lighter. It's using a lot less rubber, right? So yeah, that's a very big weight difference, which kind of sucks. And also another thing that kind of sucks about the shoe is it feels a little bit clunkier, it feels a little bit stiffer as well, comparing it to the regular AG4. So there is the weight there. It does feel pretty hefty. I mean, it doesn't feel super bulky though, you know what I mean? Like nothing protrudes out like crazy, nothing's bulging out. There's not a whole lot of foam in the tongue or anything like that. It's just feels a little stiff, feels a little clunky as well, and you definitely feel a little bit of the weight, right? So there's that. Moving on to the aesthetics, I love the aesthetics. This shoe looks absolutely amazing, right? It kind of looks like the upgraded version of the regular AG4, which it kind of is, you know, in terms of pricing, in terms of kind of like the tech as well, kinda, you know. But as far as how it feels, I feel like the AG4 feels a lot better right now. But like I said, the aesthetics, I love this colorway, and there's a lot of dope colorways out as well. But this black hole colorway looks really, really dope. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, I'm a little bit disappointed in the AG4 Soar. I was super duper excited to get these in because I love the AG4, right? But yeah, for $40 more, you do get a drop-in midsole, which I didn't know it was a drop-in midsole, but when I got it, I was like, ooh, it's a drop-in midsole. But then I was kind of walking around in it and it didn't really feel as good as the AG4, right? The cushion feels a little bit better here, feels less clunky, it's a lot lighter for the regular AG4 as well, and it's cheaper. So that is a little bit of a disappointment, but of course that's all from first impressions. I still have yet to actually play and fully test the AG4 Soar. So of course that will be coming soon, but as of right now, I'm a little bit disappointed. It doesn't feel terrible, however, right? It doesn't feel terrible, but I am a little bit let down because I do like the AG4 a little bit better right now, right? But anyways, that about concludes my detailed review of the AG4 Soar. Again, if you guys do want to cop a, try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.